I spoke about God is sovereign. I spoke about God is all-knowing. God is independent. The fourth, S-K-I-E, is God is eternal. Everybody say eternal. Eternal. You know, time can sometimes be a friend to us. For a prisoner who is locked up for many years, is about to go home after Christmas, he's really excited about it. He can't wait for the day to come. You know, at times, like he will be counting in his prison cell the hours, the minutes, the day, and with each day that passes, he's a day closer to the family, to freedom, too. He's looking forward to the passing of time. Yet, in another case, time can be a greatest enemy. When someone is drowning, time is the essence. You know, every second that passes by can cause someone to die. You know, our brain, if without oxygen for minutes, we will go. In situations like this, time can be a great enemy to us. In another case, like many of us, how we wish that we could undo something that we have done or something that's happened. Many governments, wish that they could be warned of the terrorist attack that will be coming, the bomb that's going to explode, the vehicle that's going to run towards the citizen, the tragedy that could be avoided. You know, in certain sense, these three examples that I've brought to you is speak about one thing, that we are prisoner of time. We are prisoner of time. We are bound by it. We cannot undo anything that has happened. But God is not a prisoner of time, my friend. You know, time is never a problem for God. The Bible teaches us that God is eternal. This means that his relationship to time is much different than ours. In Psalms, the psalmist in chapter 90, verse 2 say, spell out the God's relationship in time. He said, before the mountains were born, you brought forth the earth and the world. From everlasting to everlasting, you are God. You know, the main point that we see in this verse about God is eternal is this few words, from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. He's eternal. He is from everlasting to everlasting. What does it mean that God is eternal? First of all, it means that God has no beginning and has no end. He will always exist. He has no beginning and you have no end. You know, there's another description of God's eternity in Psalms chapter 102, verse 27. The psalmist says, but you remain the same, and your years will never end. Your years will never end. A mother was approached by the young son who asked, Mommy, did God make himself? Well, realizing that it's a very important question, the mom dropped everything that she's doing and sat down with the child, and want to answer this question. And so what she did is that she pointed to her wedding band. She took it out and she said, wait, wow, it's so difficult to get. This is a love ring which your dad has given to me during our marriage. Look closely at it. Tell me where it begins and where it ends. So the child, very excited, took the ring and examined carefully and then said, there's no starting point and no ending point to this ring. Yes, the mom replied, that's the way it will be with God. He has no beginning and he has no end. Yet God encircles our lives with his presence. Amen. He is too wonderful, too great for our minds to understand. Nobody ever made God son. Nobody. He was always there. Somehow, the boy realized for God to be God, he could not have been created. He had to be without beginning and without end. There is a temple in China for Mao Zedong. Somebody promoted him to be God and let men worship him. But he can't be God. Why? Because he's not fit. He does not fit the attributes of God in this sense of being eternal. He has an end date. Are you with me? The second thing we must understand about God's eternity, that it means that He transcends above time. You know, God's relationship to time is different than ours. He transcends time. God is not bound by time like we are. He's not completely enclosed in time like we are. Let me try to illustrate this. The analogy may not be perfect, but let me try to explain to you. I want you to picture this hall. The whole place is being filled. The entire space in this hall is being filled. From the front to the back, to the left, to the right, is being filled by God. And God is so big, so mighty. Just pretend for a moment that He is that big, that God is in this space, filling up the space here. Now, I want you to picture a timeline that stretches from creation to end time, which is this timeline. That is creation from the end, from my right of the stage. That from my left is end time. That is timeline. And maybe we are somewhere here, 2017. This is the timeline. But I want you to know, my point is, I want to make here is that God is much bigger than the timeline here. It's much bigger. He's not bound by it. He is outside of it in a certain sense because He created timeline. He can go to any point in this timeline as He wish. He can. And nothing is future to Him and nothing is past. Next year is not future to God. 10 years down the road is not future to God. 1,000 years down the road is not future to God. Yesterday is not past to God. But rather, God is ever present without past or future. God is the Lord over time. Do you understand? You know what I mean? You know, He created time. He controlled time. He transcends times. Amen? Time does not bound Him. He binds time. Now, that's the meaning of eternal. What does it mean to us all? What does it mean? You know, first, this means that nothing in time can obstruct God's purpose. And our transcendence, God transcends over time. Nothing can ever take Him by surprise. It is impossible. Nothing unexpected ever happened to God. God never wishes that things happen another way because He have happened exactly as He controlled, as He wished. God holds time in His hand. He controls it completely. The second thing about what does it mean for eternal for us? So God's eternity means that God is inescapable. Inescapable. If God is just a mere human being, and if we do not like Him, or we do not want Him, we can just ignore Him. We can just ignore Him because we know that eventually He might change His mind and move away from us or die. But God does not change His mind. He does not move away. He will not die. So therefore, we cannot escape from Him. Are you listening? Even if we ignore Him right now, we must reckon with Him in the life to come. If we reject Him now, we must eventually face the one we have rejected and experience His eternal rejection. So a God have to be eternal. Then I urge you, my brothers and sisters, stop escaping from Him because He is our only hope. Amen? God is eternal. And finally,